Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation TV with your host, Jeff Charles. The debate over education continues to heat up as states pass laws preventing school districts from teaching on subjects that are not age appropriate. Democrats have taken a dubious stance against parental rights despite polls showing that this is contrary to what most Americans want. I have with me Liberty Nation's national columnist, Sarah Cowgill, to discuss. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, this will be another fun one. So you recently wrote an article and on this subject, and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and the rest of the left seem pretty disgruntled that Alabama and other states are following Florida's lead in enacting similar types of legislation that prevents teachers from teaching certain types of materials to younger children. Now, why is this bothering them so much?
Because they pander to the progressive one percenters. They feel that they need that because they get the most traction in the media with that, and they can use the word equality until we all get sick of hearing the word equality. And it's frightening to them. I mean, when a press secretary, not the president, not the vice president, not a senator or congressman, but the press secretary calls out a state's governor by name and tries to make an example of her, they're terrified. And that's the only way you can explain what has happened there.
Now, for your column on Liberty Nation, you wrote, because you talk about flyover folks a lot, people living in flyover country, how they view things. Yeah. You wrote, quote, flyover folks are having trouble seeing the need to legislate what is already good manners and common sense. Now, most people understand that sentiment. So why do we even need legislation saying that you shouldn't teach about sexuality and gender identity to kids that are 7 years old or younger?
If you keep up with the trend of, a few years ago, it started with drag queens reading to little kids at the library.
I remember that.
And I don't have any problems with drag queens. I have no problems with that entertainment industry. I have a problem when it involves children that aren't able to make that decision for themselves. They don't necessarily need to be exposed to that. Now, when you're sending a child to school, let's say a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and the teacher wants to teach them about gender identity and are you a girl or a boy, and why that is even remotely necessary at any age up until about, junior high school. It's one thing if a child asks. It's a completely another thing if there's a curricula that the teachers are following to instill sexuality in children, in elementary school. It's ridiculous.
A lot of these school districts, like in Wisconsin, in Chicago public schools, and in other school districts, they are training their teachers to straight up lie to parents or to just not even tell parents if one of their kids comes up and says, hey, I'm struggling with this or that, or whether I'm a male or female. They're telling them not to tell the parents unless they have the child's consent. And in some cases, they want to cut the parents out, which, like I said before, nobody wants to do that, including Democratic voters. So this is going to hurt them in the upcoming elections. Why are they willing to die on this hill? I don't understand. It doesn't help them.
It helps them in their mind because they're getting coverage. They're getting media coverage of being the champion of equal rights. And they, I don't remember the name of the organization that nicknamed Don't Say Gay. That has nothing to do with the legislation in Florida or the legislation in Alabama. The teachers aren't prohibited from answering questions. They're prohibited from instructing about sexuality. They're not prohibited to, if Johnny comes up and goes, hey, am I a girl or boy? Because I like to play with dolls and trucks. Answer the question, Mr. and Mrs. my teacher. And, they can answer that question. They can't instruct. And that's the whole idea of the legislation, is not bringing something into a child's life or their mind at a tender age that could derail them in the future. That's all it's about. It has nothing to do with keeping equal rights out of public school system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are at least 12 other states that are considering similar type legislation to what Florida has. So this will not be the last time we talk about this. This is going to be going on for a while. So we'll be keeping an eye on it.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be fun for us to revisit this and see what else, if they go any further, if these upcoming states go any further in the legislation and the drafting of the legislation to be even more strident against sex education up into a certain age in the public school system.
Yeah. Based on what I'm reading, Sarah, there are at least some states that would be most likely going further even than what Florida does. Some are more in line with Florida, some are a little bit lighter, but some are going to go further. So this will be a very fun conversation later this year.
It's going to get better and better.
Yes. But anyway, we'll be keeping an eye on it. Thanks for joining me, Sarah.
Anytime, Jeff.
Awesome. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
Daily tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.